So inflation numbers came out today, the CPI came out today at 9.1%. What if I told you that there's a way to get 9.62% on your money, practically risk-free from the government? In today's video, we'll talk about the I-Series savings bonds from treasurydirect.gov. So, the inflationary pressures of the current economy have pushed inflation pretty high, and what the inflationary bond does is it pegs itself against the inflationary number. And in times of high inflation, these things can pay a lot of interest. Currently, it's paying 9.62%, and the principal is backed by the US government. So long as you believe that the US government can make good on its debt, which it has and it most likely will, and the government just keep writing more bills to make it possible. But that's kind of what the overall risk is. There's no stock market risk. I mean, yes, we did have a country most recently default on some of their debt, but that's rare. Much rarer than the stock market going down, which it has done for the most part of 2022. Now, the I-Series bond. What are some good points other than the 9.62% interest? We just kind of talked about that. Secured by the government, pays a semi-annual 4.81% compound interest. Its liquidity is not the best, but we'll go into that a little bit later. But it is relatively liquid when it comes to, products and of this nature, fixed income products, as I like to call them. So it's a pretty good deal. But what are the cons? There are some, and they're relatively small. The minimum that you can purchase in these bonds is $25. You can purchase from $25 all the way up to $10,000 per year per social security number. So if you wanted to buy a bond for yourself, your wife, and your 2 kids, you could buy 4 up to $40,000 in 1 year if that's what you so wish to do. Another kind of problem is that you have to hold these bonds for at least 12 months before they can become liquid, before you can cash them out. You have to hold it at least for 12 months. And additionally, if you hold it for less than 5 whole years, you will have to give back 3 months of interest payments if you do so before 5 years. So for an example, if you had the bond for 18 months and then you decide to cash out, you would have to quote unquote give back 3 months of interest, so you'd only have literally collected 15 months of interest, not 18 months. Well, Matt, how does tax work? Well, it's taxed at the federal level, so it's not a tax-free bond, but you do get a pass on the state and local taxes. You don't have to pay taxes on it state level, so if you live in a state with income taxes at the state level, you don't have to pay for taxes for the I-bonds. Additionally, if you would like to, you could either pay tax every year that this bond pays out an interest payment, or, it's the good part, you can defer that tax treatment until, number 1, the bond matures. So that's a 30-year bond maturity window. Bond matures at the end of 30 years. You'd have to pay taxes. Or you cash out the bond. Then, during the year you cash out the bond, you have to pay income taxes on it then. Or you gift the bond. If you gift the bond to someone else, then you have to pay taxes at that point. Additionally, there are some tax kind of special tax treatments when it comes to education, but that is not something that will go into the scope of this video, simply because I'm not a tax professional and I don't want to really overstep my bounds there. Again, not a tax professional, so be always sure to check with your CPA or your tax preparation specialist to make sure that whatever you are doing is best for your tax circumstances. Additionally, the I-bonds do have 2 rates. Normally, the rate that you purchase the bonds is like their base rate. The base rate for most of these I-bonds are 0, and really the only rate that has any significance is the inflationary rate, which again, the government distinguishes or lets us know from May what the rate is, and then they do it again in October. So 2 times a year they can change the rates. And with inflation kind of going crazy, it's more than likely that the inflation rate will stay, or at least the I-bond rate will stay relatively elevated compared to the other performance of other equities and other fixed income products like annuities. So again, I don't sell this. This is just something that you can get off treasurydirect.gov. I don't make any money from it, which is, well, may as well, right? Because I don't make money off of a lot of things that I help people with on this channel, but I do it because I have some time, and I really believe that the education that we have for financial products, budgeting, finance, and all that stuff in general is truly lacking. I most likely won't be able to do this for much longer, as I am not, you can only do charity for so long. But I digress. I'll do this for as long as I can. But now I'm going to go ahead and show you guys exactly how, or the steps to go and set one of these accounts up so you can do it yourself, and then you can, of course, get 9.62% interest relatively risk-free. Let's do it. So first things first, we are going to treasurydirect.gov. Here it is. We're going to go to open an account here. Then we will go to Treasury Direct here. And let's get started. So these are the steps. Step 1, we're going to have to choose the account type we're opening. That's individual, business. Step 2, we have to provide the personal information, email account, bank account, routing number, etc. And then of course we're going to set up a password reminder, personal image, caption, security questions, and there will be an email verification at that point. Now let's hit apply now, and we have this screen here. Click on individual unless you want to create an entity account. That's like for your company, for a partnership, etc. After we click this one, we're gonna click on the submit button down there in the blue. Next, we're gonna fill out all of the account owner information, your name, of course, your taxpayer ID number, your date of birth, driver's license, etc., contact information, and make sure all of this is accurate, as this is pretty much what the government's going to use to verify your identity. This next part here is pretty much the bottom half of that first page. We're going to continue with the address, phone number, email address. Email is very important. You have to verify via email at the end of this confirmation process. Bank information, routing number, account number, name, whether it's just checking or savings, and then of course the taxpayer identification number certification. You are notifying and you are letting the government know that you certify that this information is correct. Very important. And of course, click here to submit after you have completed and made that check mark. At this point, we're going to make a password reminder, and of course answer just 3 of the security questions, and then of course that wonderful submit button again. The next page you land on is going to look like this, and they're going to send you an email. Email looks something like this from the treasury.direct@fiscal.treasury.gov. They're going to ask you to do a few things, and that's pretty much it, and you're on your way.